Today we are going to bake chocolate chip scones. We'll start by sanitizing our work area and washing our hands to avoid cross-contamination. We'll need all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, salt, baking powder, chocolate chips, vanilla extract, an egg, unsalted butter, whole milk, and an optional sparkling sugar to sprinkle on top. First start by scooping 1½ cups of all-purpose flour into a large mixing bowl. Then add 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Sugar acts as a tenderizer because of its water-attracting properties. It also helps delay staling and helps prevent the water from leaving the starch. Next, add 1/4 tablespoons of salt, then add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, which acts as a chemical leavening agent. When it comes in contact with liquid, baking powder releases a carbon dioxide gas bubbles into the dough and results in higher rise. Unlike baking soda, baking powder already contains acid. Next, add 4 tablespoons of chilled butter. Cut the butter into small cubes and incorporate into the dry ingredients until the mixture is crumbly. Then add 1/4 cup of milk to a liquid measuring cup. The milk acts as a liquid that baking powder can react with to produce air bubbles. To the same cup, add 1 large egg. The proteins in the egg coagulate when baking and provide structure to the baked good. Because eggs have high moisture and protein content, they are more likely to carry potential hazardous microbes. To destroy microbes, the minimal internal temperature should be 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Then add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Combine liquid ingredients using a hand whisk. Add the liquid ingredients to the dry ingredients in the large mixing bowl. Use a spatula to combine the two mixtures. Incorporate 1/2 cup of chocolate chips in the dough and mix thoroughly until they're all combined. Next, prepare a baking sheet by lining it with parchment paper and sprinkling some flour on it. Add the dough onto the sheet and create a circular disc. The disc should be about 6 inches in diameter. Once you create the 6-inch diameter disc, cut the disc into 6 equal wedges and separate the wedges so there is at least 1/2 inch space around each one. In a small bowl, add 1 teaspoon of milk and use a pastry brush to apply a small amount to the top of each scone. As an optional addition, sprinkle sparkling sugar on top of the scones. The milk and sugar encourage browning on the tops of the scones through the Maillard reaction, a chemical reagent between amino acids and sugars. Place the scones into the freezer for 30 minutes. Preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and ensure that the baking rack is on the upper portion of the oven. When the oven is ready, place the scones into the upper rack. Baking the scones in the oven uses convection and conduction as heat transfer. As hot air rises and cool air sinks, surface of the scones heat up from the hot air convection currents. The center of the scones are cooked through the conduction as the surface has direct contact with the interior and transfer heat to the center. Bake the scones for about 18 to 20 minutes or until the tops have a nice golden color. Let the scones cool down for a few minutes and enjoy them while warm.